Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. Sorry for being a couple minutes late there. Nothing like punctuality, huh? Welcome on in. Let's see who we got. RC Spaceport, welcome in. Timor, hello. Hey, Projects and Dad's Garage, how's it going? Yeah, you're in the right place. You were told this is a D&D live podcast. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah, Dragon's Den, that is true. Now, last night we were down at the local game shop and doing D&D. Hey, Da Vinci, welcome in. Yeah, today we're going to continue on the Micron. And the reason I was a couple minutes late is because I was playing with fiddly stuff. So let me go ahead and I'll switch over to the bench side and I'll show you what I was working on. So I finally found the right, I'll say the right recipe here to get this printed and installed. The light carrier itself, let me see. There we go. So the light carrier itself is printed in this orientation and it's printed at 101%. The latching piece here was printed at 98%, and that seems to be the trick. Beyond that, it was literally coming in, and as you can see, because we print on this surface here, we get some overhanging cruft here. So it's a little bit going in with a knife, and I really need to get some X-Acto knives and just cleaning up this little latch hole right here. So you got to come in, clean that up, get any of the little overhang blobs out, right? Not trying to remove a lot, you're just going in and getting rid of the little overhang blobs. Same thing on the underside here. You might be able to tell right here there's some overhanging blob from the top, so you want to clean that up. These little tabs right here are the locking tabs that lock it in place. So a little bit of fine-tuning filing right on the top, because we did enlarge the piece. It's a little bit thicker than normal. So a couple of swipes with the file, and we're able to get everything to test fit in and lock in without busting the part like we did 2 or 3 times on last stream. Yeah, and you just didn't put any LEDs in the Blackbird. Exactly. And that's the thing is, the easiest thing would have been put the top LED in for the logo and say the hell with it. The nozzle LEDs, this is a mod. This is a user mod. Didn't need to do it. And if this didn't work this morning, I would have desoldered these two from the top one, and we would have just went with the top one. And these two would have just been put in the parts bin going back to 0. So we've got our cover, we've got our extruder built, we've got our board installed, and this is going to be the board that will, or the mount for the piezo probe, which should be arriving sometime today. So we will not be installing that today because it's coming in today. The other thing I did was printed the other fan shrouds, and I'm curious to see, I'm just going to undo one of these and we'll see if that fitment's any better, because remember, we had to work on this hole a lot to kind of open it up some to get our fans to spin freely. So I'm curious to see if it was a, hey idiot, just print the right part, and it works. PZ probe, haven't tried that one. Yeah, so this is my first time working the PZ probe. it's Zura is the one that had gotten all the parts for this. This is his build. I'm just building it for him because we quickly ran out of print manual and had to go over to CAD, and he just did not have the time with other things going on in life. And so I asked if I would be willing to do the build for him, and I was like, sure, why not? This one. And so I'm kind of building it to his specs and his parts. And look at that. If we printed the right shroud, that fan spins freely with no issues. So yeah. We just need to print the right shrouds. Okay. So Projects in Dad's Garage, how are you doing today? How's your, you were working on, actually we were working on a couple machines, but you're working to get a switch wire built out, right? Or rebuilt? I love trying to get M2 threads to start in plastic. Hey, Cartoon Anarchy, how's it going? Microns are fun to build. They really are fun to build. They're a little bit more difficult than a standard Voron, simply because, and all the printers for ants are, simply because they're 1550. There's just not a lot of space for big ham hock hands to work in. All right, so that's one fan done. We'll redo the other one. So CFS K1 after a week of use, 5 days of solid printing. Only remaining issue is the auto feed on insert. There we go. There you go. That's pretty cool. Well, the only other issue is there's only a single USB port on that printer, and when you do the CFS, you basically take over that one USB port, right? That's the only other thing that I see with that particular issue is that. And it's not an issue, it's just more of a, well, that sucks type of thing. So the issue I'm having with this one is this print part, or this part prints like this, and there's a little bit of an overhang right here that's getting real close to that fan blade. So I'm just going to pop this fan back out, and I'll go through and hit that edge with a file real fast, which is what we were doing um, on the other shroud anyhow. And really, it's just getting this little slight dip squared away. So, and welcome on in, Liz. How's it going? You'll stream again tomorrow morning? Okay, cool. Cartoon Anarchy, pretty good. Just cooking breakfast for the kids. Oh, that's nice. Sausage fingers would make it rough. Yeah. Like I said, if you want to do a printer for ants and you're worried about the size of everything, that's where a 250 Voron makes perfect sense. All right, and we get this in there, and you'll now see that we've got plenty of room right there. It's not going to hit. Everything moves and spins freely. So, yeah, and an adapter. Yeah, I would use like a 2-to-1, so you'd still have access to the um, USB if you ever needed it. Yeah, that thin edge is really easy to crack. So when you're doing that file, be very careful. Go slow. A day to tidy up over here. Liz, yes. So a little bit later today, Evil Diesel's going to come over, and I got to let him know. Give me 1 second. I got to ping him and let him know that Mrs. Dragon's not going to be here. So. Sorry. So, yeah, Mrs. Dragon went to an event and he is supposed to be coming over today and he's going to help me. We're going to relocate the 0G back downstairs, and because she's just big and unwieldy, so I need a second hand to get her downstairs safely. So we're going to relocate her downstairs to her spot, and then the TiVo Tarantula and other stuff that's over here is going to get pulled out, and the other Centuri Carbon is going to go in and get on the line, and I'm going to have to dig through and sort all of that stuff out. As you can see, we got one of our bin setups over here, and we've gone through and we started putting all of our extra boards, power supplies, motors, what have you over there. And I'm trying to get some stuff organized and cleaned up. All of the extra screws are up here in the bins as well. So just trying to get some things cleaned up around here so that, one, I stop tripping over things. Two, we're a little cleaner. We're more prepared. I've got room. And eventually, I'm looking for some studio space right now that some of these projects can get moved to. So, yeah. So for now, what we're going to do is I'm going to toss these over in the box that I'm setting up so that we can extract our heat sets. I needed a piece from CNC Kitchen. There's an adapter that allows me to use the heat set because the heat set removal tool uses an M5 thread, but the heat set insert for the TS100-101 comes with, I think, an M4 thread, so it doesn't fit on. So I needed to get a different adapter. What was I going to do? I needed the heat press, and yes, I still need to get my cracks up here. That'll come up here soon as well. Um, so, Kali, I am basically starting up some print farm stuff. So what I'm going to do is, for my business, Digital Dragon 3D, I'm building printers. I'm going to be building printers and 3D printing stuff for people like box turtles, things like that on commissions. I'm also going to be selling some of the builds that I do in a storefront, as well as I believe I'm going to just make the decision, bite the bullet. Might not be the best time to do it, but what the hell, and start selling 3D printer parts. I don't know if I'll sell printers or just be the local Voron parts guy where you can come and get kits and parts like motors, boards, stuff like that. So Ecovate 3D is a local 3D printing store, and you know, they've treated me well. They've given me a space to do my monthly maker meetups and stuff here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And they sell printers. They sell Bamboos, they sell Prusas, stuff like that. But what they don't do is more of this stuff. Printer builds, Voron, stuff like that. So when they get, I've worked on some Vorons. I've worked on zero-G Mercury builds for them. When people have brought projects in that are having problems. So that's kind of my niche. And so I don't necessarily want to compete with them, but I do want to have a place here in North Carolina and the Fayetteville area where people that are into 3D printing can come and get help and support with their modded printers, their their printer builds and stuff like that, as well as be able to get parts, upgrades, mods, stuff like that. Yes, there's the Triad, there's KB3D, West 3D. All of those are always going to be viable for people, but they all started off basically doing the same thing, providing parts or some kits, some printers, and then they've grown. Right? That's kind of what I'm trying to do, is find the next stage in my life. Okay, so we've got our shroud done. We've got our fans done as appropriate. Let's bring back our let's bring back our instructions. We've got our fans installed. Let me just pop up here real fast. Yeah, we need to put the shroud on. So the LED here, this is the one thing. You'd put the diffuser piece in, you'd put the LED holder in, then you put the LED in and route the wires. Right? Then we'd slide in the grill. We added our other lights. And now what we're ready to do is bring our printer up here and start adding on the accoutrements. And this is where I'm saying we're going to have to start doing some wiring soon, because we've got wires hanging out all over the place. So the the front grill is going to go on. Once again, we've got our lighting for the two LED lights kind of tucked down along the lower edge there. Comes up to the main light and then up through the channel in the main light. So when we go to slide this on, we need to make sure that all of our fan wires and stuff are routed to the back and out of the way. And I'm going to rotate this fan 90 degrees. Let me bring you guys in here as we work on the tool head. So our fan wire, sorry about that. Our fan wire is currently coming up on this side, and there's no channel here. There is a little channel right here, And that's also, yeah, that's where we need our fan wire to go up because our other wire is coming over this way. So we're just going to unscrew our fan, rotate it 90 degrees. And Collie, I do collect printers. Actually, this year at RMRF, which is the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival, and MRF, which is the Midwest Rep Rap Festival, I have, well, at RMRF, I traded some printers for parts so I could build new printers. And at MRF, I raffled off one of my ender wires. And so I'm making some room because I've had over 30 printers that I've built here at the house. Like I literally have two kitchen tables, and neither one of them can be, or dining room tables, and neither one can be used to entertain because they have 3D printer stuff on them. So Mrs. Dragon is a little annoyed with me. I bought some time because I got her own printer, but that only goes so far. And she's been using the heck out of it. She's got her P1S and the Anycubic we put back online because there was a update. And I put the Anycubic back online and did the update. And it's been rocking and rolling without an issue since then. So, all right, come here. We're going to... one wire at a time. Get that wire down in there, squished around, and then we'll come back in and do the other one. So yeah, bought myself a little bit of time by getting her own printer, but she's been rocking and rolling with the P1S and the Anycubic as well. So she's almost got like all of her coins done and her dragonflies and flowers done for the table for Printopia. Meanwhile, I need to still get both of my printers going with my coins. So there we go. So our fan's in there. The wires are routed around now. We're going to take our shroud and slide that on. And it's going to slide on. There's, as it shows on the diagram, there's these keyed cutouts here that is going to slide around that shroud or around the print head. So let's make sure our wires are out of the way, and we'll slowly slide this back on there. What are we catching on? Ah. We're just catching on our lower light piece. There we go. Just a nice tight fit. Or maybe not. Those things are out of the way and in their channels. Just a tiny bit of fiddly. Okay, and it's M3 by 6 button heads, which I do not have here, so I'll grab some out of my stash, which I moved. Which one is your go-to printer? I'll tell you right now, the majority of the stuff I've been printing with lately has been the X1 Carbon and my Centauri carbons. And that's really because I need to do some maintenance. And of course, when you do maintenance, you also need to go in and do some retuning on my other printers. Like we did the Trident 350 build that's downstairs. It's got the tube on it. And it's been sitting down there neglected because I need to tune it. We did one print with it to prove that we can push plastic, and I need to tune it. It's sitting downstairs, and I just, because we're going from project to project to project, I have not had a chance to really sit down, give it its due, and tune it. So that's another thing that I need to do here soon. Just a tiny bit fiddly. Yeah, that's a good motto for it. Are you going in? What's going on here? Align, line, align. There we go. Okay. Now, see, I don't like that. Is there, are there screws that go in at the, no, no. See, this to me just feels wobbly. And I don't like it. This is my first time building ant heads, so, and I know that, um, what's his name? Steve Builds had some issues where it just seemed like it was, we'll say, like the bottom was leaning out. And this is just feeling like this top tool head just isn't tight. And I don't know why. Because that's tight. That's as tight as that's going to get. But this just still feels wonky wobbly. I mean, you see that much movement there. Yes, there's a spot for another screw up here. But I haven't seen it say anything about putting a screw there yet. And okay, the 200 hot end mount, M3 by 25s. We didn't do the probe, and I haven't printed out that probe piece, so I still need to do that. That is for the fan mounting. Okay, yeah, that makes sense because it goes into the top there and it hasn't told me to do that. And it's after you mount the extruder. Okay. That will make a little bit more sense then. Because right now it just feels floppy. All right, well, we'll work on getting this put back on there then. It's just a really tight fit. Now, I will say that I did check for continuity on the wires from the wire all the way to the last LED. So I do have good continuity on the parts all the way through. Well, you go into the hole. What's going on? Yeah. Don't like that sound. Let me turn this around so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. A lovely sound of cross-threading. All right, that's as far as that one's going to go in there. Next up is our fans. These are M3 by 8s. We'll do the one side, then the other. And on the fans, once we open up the right bag of screws, that'll help. We need to be cognizant of our wires coming up, and we do have little wire tie spots on here. So I'm assuming this wire is going to come straight up on the edge and through that wire tie. And that'll be a small wire tie, so we'll get one of our cheap AliExpress ones. And I do mean cheap AliExpress one here. That would be the other nice thing about the instructions here is if they gave you more information on how to route wiring and stuff like that. Make sure you get your wiring adjusted so it's not getting pinched anywhere, okay? Like, show me something that looks like wire routing, not just some verbiage that says, hey, kind of do this. There's one. Nice and tight. All of our wiring is going to the back. My LED wire is definitely a lot longer than it needs to be, but I just didn't want to cut down those wires yet. Okay, and this one is coming around from the front, but I think it goes down in this gap here. Is that going to be right? Or is that the gap where it's trying to... It's definitely not going to go in there. Your stream keeps pausing. Oh, I am not an expert at the freeze frame dance. I would say that it's probably the locale that you are in that it keeps freezing. This one still needs to come up, but it looks like there is some gappage there. trying to get my tiny zip tie go in the zip tie slot so we can zip tie our wire. There we go. And as well as trying to figure out what the best way, I think this wire is really going to go right down here. There is a gap line there. So we're going to come right down the side, bring this up, loop this over, and get this tied down here. Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. All right, now we'll need these. And what I'm trying to do is push the little nubs of belt that we left to be able to do some maintenance. Trying to push them back with this edge as I'm working the fan shroud into place. I'm kind of impressed. Oh, sorry. So let me bring you back over here. I'm going to flip this forward so you can see how nicely it fits together in front. And then also look at that top fitment there. This part's snugged in real nice. Yeah, we need something with small dexterous hands that we can use. Very much so there, Timor. Hey, Wick, how's it going? Just bend it straight back. Hey, Blue Chuck Bro, how's it going? I didn't realize you were the one that were saying that you were freezing. Hey, Eagle the Dragon, how are you doing? Yeah, so our wires are coming back here. The LED wires, there is a channel gap right here, so they're coming out right about the same spot as our, these are the extruder wires. Now, or not the extruder, the heater wires. So they're going to come basically somewhere right back here to go in. Our thermistor piezo probe, and this is the hot end cooling fan, which we're going to have to change the tip on, and then our other two fans. Now, on an EBB 36, there are just two fan ports, one for the tool head for the hot end and one for the part cooling. So we are going to have to combine our two part coolings into one to take into the board, but we'll worry about that once we get there. So we got both fans put on. Now it wants us to put the PTFE tube in. Whoops. Yeah, so we're going to have to figure out the length of our Bowden tube. Now, I'm just curious. Good. So that gives me something to go by. So we did that, and we've got a length, whoops, here on our Allen key. That Allen key length (28.5). So 28.5. And then at the bottom here, no, actually this is well constrained all the way down. That's going to be 1.75. So we basically need it to come right to the top for our particular extruder setup. How are you all coming through here? Like this? Oh yeah, we're going to be extending some wires. So that's what the extruder is going to look like. So we need about 28.5 because it's going to get cut right at the top of this piece. And I will say we are going to have to extend the heater wire some, which actually will work in our favor. But we will have to be doing that. So probably this fan wire as well. 28.5 millimeters is what we need to measure and cut our PTFE tube. And we should have some, yes. No, that's not. I was going to say we should have some Capricorn tube I thought we had in here. Not seeing it in this one. If not, I do have Capricorn tube. I just thought there was some in here, but I might have missed it. Or just envisioned it. Ah, there it is. Capricorn PTFE tube. You're back? Oh, alrighty then. Spin it back. Yeah. The bottom of the ducts are hooked in there. Yep, everything's looking nice. So once again, we're basically cutting this at 28 and a half, and it's going to be flush cut to the top. And what I'm going to do, looks like it has been used somewhere in the past, but I'm going to mark this with my fine Sharpie. Right, so we'll find our 28 and a half. Mark that line with my fine Sharpie, right, the fine point Sharpie. And then I've got a couple of different cutting tools. This is one that's made specifically for, I believe this is for the E3D, like if you're doing a Prusa or something. But it's a good way to cut it because you can lay this directly down in there and line up your blade in that slot. And then it's just a matter of making sure that you get your PTFE tube in there right on your line. And then rather than just straight pushing, I rock it as it gets the cut going, and then boom. There's our nice flush cut edge. Plenty of extra PTFE tube. Now the other thing that I do all right, Blue Chocobo, is I get the Capricorn stabby. This is a 0 to 14 millimeter. You go 0 to 14 millimeter, the stabby. Yes. So we're going to use this and we're going to chamfer our PTFE tubes. It doesn't have to be much. All we're trying to do is enlarge the hole of our PTFE tube to give it just a smidge of wiggle room to get started and come through cleanly. Okay. Use yours for non-resealable bags. Well, that's a good thing too. And now we're going to take this and we're going to slip it down right in there, and it should go all the way down and be flush with the top of the printed part there if everything was measured right. If not, it's going to be fun. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, look at that. Like a glove. All right. Put away the thing of small screws before I knock them over. Then we get to play small screw pickup again. All right, what do we got? What do we got next? We got our PTFE tube. It talks about doing the wristwatch. Then we're going to mount the extruder. And the extruder is going to mount on there with M3x12s. Now, before I mount the extruder, I know that I'm going to have to extend some wires. And when that happens, I will be like right back here at the back end of my extruder trying to extend wires. Now's probably a good time to extend wires like this where I don't have much room. And I also know that this is going to be plenty of extra. So I think what I'm going to do is cut some of these, and I'll use this black and red wire to maybe extend the fan out. I don't need a huge amount of excess, and I'm probably going to cut these even shorter, but for now I'm just giving myself some working wire here. I can probably take this and turn it around as we're going to be working back here. So RGB's good. This fan's good. This fan's good. In fact, these two fans we're going to have to connect and do some work on. The PZO is going to be long enough. The thermistor wire here is going to be long enough. This is going to need to be extended, which is the hot end cooling fan. And these wires are going to need to be extended for our hot end. And yeah, remember, we're going into these tiny things. So we're going to need the smallest ferrules possible, which means as much as I don't want to, we're going to probably go with some bare wire, or the smallest ferrule I have with bare wire and heat shrink. So we'll work on that as well. Now I just need to kind of get some of this wire out of the way. There we go. This will come over here for now and go out of the way this way. This is going to be fine. We just need to be careful of that. And this, we can depin this, or we can just cut it and extend these wires out with our PTFE wire. This is probably like, well, it might still just be 24 gauge. I'm just going to snip this. And mess with trying to pull that housing off later. Oh yeah, that's, no, we're good. Now this would be where I normally would be like, I don't want to deal with this fiddly small wire. Let me just go ahead and do my little heat shrink butt connectors. But because of where this is at and how much room we're going to have to work with back here, I think I am just going to solder like normal. It shouldn't take much to get these wires soldered together. We'll pre-tin them, solder them together, put a little heat shrink on, and we'll be good. Hey, Shrimp Father, how's it going? Before you dive into the tool wiring, look at your side ducts from the front again. The bottom just do not look seated fully. They can be fiddly. Okay. So it kind of sounds like you're telling me to get my side ducts fully reseated because they may not be fully seated. Okay. And you said these need to basically come up from the bottom up? They're almost saying like a hook and rotate then. Okay. Within the ledge, we'll take our belts and push those back. I mean, they are hooked into the little slot. They are hooked in. So once again, we're going to extend these couple of wires. Yeah, we're going to, if I remember right, no, my soldering iron should have the length to get over there, but might have to slide it over here to do the soldering portion. Well, this side is good. This side is the only one I had an issue with the side screw. Yeah. And now I can tell that this screw over on this side is not fully in, but I can also tell that for whatever reason, feels like I'm starting to cross thread it too. Now these are button heads. Should they be flat heads? Are those supposed to be flathead screws for the mounts? I mean, there is a slight gap and flex there. Seems to be from tightening the rear. You don't recall it being flush heads? Yeah. But I mean, looking at it, that's the only way that it would, like, it would be pushing on the back of the fan housing any other way. Because the head of this screw does not sit flush with the overall body. It is not. Yeah. Okay, so I found out the issue. And part of the issue is I'm an idiot, but that's okay. So I'm trying to make this front edge flush, and it shouldn't be. It should be just tiny bit behind the front edge of the front grill part here. So that could be a part alignment problem on mine. I have 6 millimeter. It called for 6 millimeter in the instructions. If I had 4 millimeter, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to use them. I mean, there is also a part that's going to go on the back to brace the lower pieces as well. So, with that said, I'm going to scoot this as far this way as I can. And we're going to tin the wires on both edges or on both sides. And then we should just be able to very lightly touch them and solder them together. And keeping these wires away from the expensive and hard to replace wire. And Blue Chocobro, that board, and I think he stepped away because of connectivity stuff, but he was sending me a new board for the PZ probe, and that should be arriving today. So one wire 10. Second wire 10. Now we need to 10 the ones up here. Now we just need to do black to black, red to red. one. I don't really like that. So let's try this. All right, there we go. Now we'll do a little bit of well, we can do heat shrink, but let's go ahead and do the heater wires as well. Whoops. Let's come up here and do the heater wires next. Once again, the heater wires don't need to be extended out too much, and we don't want a very thick wire. So we're going to go over to our blue wire here, and we don't need much in the way of the extension. So I'm basically going to take this, fold it in half, cut it, and that's going to give us our extension for this wire. Because once again, it doesn't need to be extended too much longer. We're just going to need to make sure that we get the wire nicely soldered. That side ready, this side ready. We'll do the ones up the heater itself. There'd be tolerance on the printed part. Awesome. I told you guys how much I hate with the passion the fiberglass insulation around heater wires. It either comes off nice and clean or it just shreds off. And I wish it was at least a 50-50. I'm going to say it's probably more along the lines of a 70-30 shred versus clean, or at least in my experience. Which is just annoying as all get out. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to need to pin these upper wires. Add our extensions. Then we'll come back and put heat shrink on everything. Go ahead and get the hot stuff back out of the way so I don't burn myself. It could be a tolerance issue, Wick, but I'm hoping it's not, and I'm hoping it just may be because I'm zoomed way in that it looks worse than it is. Heat shrink, heat shrink, heat shrink. We're going to need 4 pieces of heat shrink because we got 4 wires. And of course our heat gun. We'll let the thing get warm to start with. It goes down nicely. Prep the other 2. We'll do these one at a time. All right, there we go. Now we've got our tool head wiring done and extended out, and it's going to be long enough that we'll have plenty of wire to work with once we get our extruder put on here, and we can, I'll say, work on getting our wires cut to the exact appropriate length. Now, once we get our extruder on. And what I'm doing right here, let's see if I can't raise you guys up some and get a little bit different angle there. All right. So there's basically a channel being made on either side of the threaded bolt hole here. So I'm going to take my wires and just kind of bend them over to where they're right in the middle, but also to the side of this piece here. We're going to install our extruder with M3 by 12s. So these will be our longer M3s. Oh, thank you, Wick. Wick or Will? Yeah, Wick. Going to do a lot of work for a customer for about an hour. All right, cool. What kind of work are you doing? Is this any type of associated electronics work and stuff, or what kind of work? So these two screws, I believe, are going in over here as well. So I'm going to basically bring my wires kind of down in that gap. This little piece of the extruder right here is going down in the gap between the hot end and our metal bracket. There we go. And once again, M3 by 12 on each side. This is where we definitely want to be careful of any wire getting crimped down here. So I'm not going to tighten this down. I'm just going to make sure this it's attached. And I'm just going to come and look at all wires. Make sure that nothing is getting trapped, caught, pushed up, pulled out, or anything like that. Not appear to be. Industrial laundry equipment. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, we've got not a dry, well, there are dry cleaners in the local area, but we've got a big laundromat down the way that seems to be pretty hopping in this area. And then we've got, all right, is this just not the right size or? What am I missing here? What's not lining up? What is not lining up? Number one, they're calling for 12s, and 12 on one side doesn't even come through the part. I guess technically they only set on the right side, so. Okay, there we go. And unless I'm going to use an M3 by 16, that makes more sense. We have an M3 by 16. Is there M3 by 16 button head? I have M3 by 16, but it is not button head. It is socket head. So let me see. M3 by 16. Do I have? Oh, look at that. I do have a silver one. So to keep the screw theme going. It wants to play that issue, alignment issue. So we unscrew this one some. Oh, what's going on? What the heck's going on here? There's some type of like very, very slight alignment mismatch. Could be printed part, could be Let me see what's going on. Oh, I didn't notice it, but these are going to cause problems. And this sitting flush so that this screw goes in straight. So we're going to have to take these out and we'll swap them over to the other self tappers I had that use the lower profile, whatchamacallit. They're the lower profile Phillips head screw type. Because that should let us sink those down underneath the bottom of the printed part. Um, now see those much better. So that should take up any slack I was seeing. Yeah, that's funny. The screws go right in now. My ball end drivers here. It'd be great if I did. There we go. A lot sturdier. You did it. You now have your fully assembled ant head tool head. You're now on the home stretch. All that's left now is to plug in all those wires that are poking out the back of the tool head and to tame them down. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. This is a Nighthawk. Here's the EBB 36. Hey, Coop 33, how's it going? Oh, well, thank you. This is a printer that I am building for Zura, who is one of my subscribers on the channel. somebody I hang out a lot with at the shows and stuff. So he asked me if I could build this. This has been a project he's had on his hands for a little bit, and it was the standard Micron build. And he had a few things he wanted to add to said build, but we decided that, okay, let's get this over to me and we'll get this started. So I picked this up from him at Midwest Rep Rap Festival, and I'm going to try and get it done and bring it to him at 3D Printopia. So we've got the ant head installed with a Revo Piezo. Okay, this is the Revo Piezo. We've extended some of our wires out, so we should have plenty enough room to do our wire management and stuff. This will be our Y end stop, and the Y end stop is going to be coming down. Whoops. You come here. You come here. The Y end stop and our wires for our motors are going to mount to a GBB 15 board that's going to mount right here on the underside of the gantry. So we'll have a 4-wire CAN bus cable that'll come up through the cable chain and over to here, and then coming out of this board through the umbilical up to the CAN bus EBB 36 that we're going to be mounting right here. Now, there should be and is a spacer piece, and this is going to go between the tool head board and the lower piece here. So let me see if I can get that wiggled in there now that I've put all my wires in the way. All right, there we go. So this will go down, push the wires down, we'll put screws in through here into the back, and there's also going to be a screw that goes all the way into the back and into the back of the extruder, and I'm not seeing that one listed here in the ant head instructions. This is stuff for the leaf cutter, which we did not install. Yeah, so I'm not missing anything. So I'm going to jump over to the CAD real fast and figure out what screw I use for that. Hopefully it's listed in the CAD. It's not. Dang it. All right, so we're probably maybe a 12. The problem is trying to gauge the depth now. Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a 12. Midwest was really good. I was actually a little bit surprised. I was afraid that we weren't going to have a big participation just due to the way all the festivals were lining up on the calendar. And we did. We had a lot of good participation. A lot of vendors were there. A lot of people were there. So, and dang it. Oh, that's right, because we have that too. So it's not going to be a 12. This has got to be a 16. So put the 12 back. We'll grab another 16. Yeah, there was a part of me that was afraid that, you know, Midwest was basically dead. But there were enough people that were there this year that I think we're going to be good, and we're staying alive, so that's good. Okay, so wires out of our way. Damn, 16 is not going to do it either. We're going to need like a 20 or something. We have an M3 by 20 button head. You went the first year, is amazing, but haven't been back since. You live in Colorado, so not too far of a drive. Oh, nice. Yeah, Colorado, the Rocky Mountain Rep Rat Festival is like getting bigger and bigger every year, it seems. All right, what in the ever loving? So it's not a 20 either. I guess we'll be going and grabbing a 25 and a 30, and we'll just keep going until we figure out which one to use, huh? See if this 25 will fit you long enough. But yeah, the Rocky Mountain one just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's been a blast as well. I've been to all three now of the Rocky Mountains, and like I said, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I've reached out to see about being a sponsor or having a sponsored table next year, and I was told it depends. They're trying to keep the balance between maker tables and sponsor tables so they don't turn into basically a trade show, right? If you have more vendors than anybody else, then you're a trade show. You're not a rep rat festival or a community event anymore. How's it going, Da Vinci? So this little addition down here is a modified part. So there should be a piece right here with 3 Wagos for our bed fans and the filter fan. But it would require you to splice a bunch of wires for the bed fans together or put multiple wires into a single Wago, which you could do with these smaller wires. That's not that big of a deal. And then you had a row of like 5 that would mount on the side here for the bed mount or for the bed wires. And this is a new design by Steve Builds, which uses an LDO 3-way 2-pin JST that lets you bring in your 2 fans, and it's just spaced right in the right spot that your wires fit with no problem. And then we'll come out of here for the underbed wiring. This is for the filter fan, so we trimmed that one down to size and looped it in. We'll come out of here for the filter fan. And then this 2-way over here is for the thermistor for the bed. So we've got ground, we got ground, neutral, and load. So we'll do our bed wiring. We'll be able to cut our bed wiring down and wire our bed right into here. Boom, boom, boom. And everything will mount and everything will be nice, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And I will probably put a zip tie on these once I get there, but I'm going to bring these 3 wires down, over, zip tie about right there, and we'll go down in. Okay, what about next? Oh, and for the tool head nozzle lighting that was giving me fits, I can't remember who made the comment, but thank you. I grabbed a thermistor and I used the thermistor wire here. I just wired or soldered the one end down, soldered the other end, lifted it up, trimmed it short, and that's why you see the two different busted ends. But that proved perfect for doing the LED lighting for the two LEDs that are like really close together. Hey Diesel, how's it going? Yeah, it's probably the best event. Like I said, they've grown all 3 years. I think they had 5,000 people through the door on the first day. And they're, what, 36,000 square feet event space? So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. What's next? Our ant head, I believe, is done except for wiring of the tool head board here. Now what I'm going to do is find the tool head board. Oh, let's put this back up. We'll probably need those out and possibly those out. Those being my strippers and crimpers as we start to work here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our EBB 36 and I still need to do the bottom mounts in here, and those we'll do 12s for those. Yes, if you're ready to come over, Diesel, I will be ready when you get here for printer moving service. So when you leave, that starts our countdown of, that starts my, all right, you're going to head over now? All right. Yes, that means we won't get into wiring, but what I am going to do is work on getting this standoff piece here added in. There we go. This is just a standoff spacer. And what I'm doing is, once again, I'm routing our wires along the top of our X carriage down through that gap and up underneath here, and that will give me kind of one of the cleanest ways of routing wires. If I bring it out the side and into the board, then I think it'll just get cluttered and messy real fast. So that goes there. This needs to get pushed down, not pushed down that much. Once again, this keeps all of our main wiring coming down around the bottom. Our extruder wire will be at the top. Our piezo wire will be at the top. And then this is the end stop wire, which is going to be over here on this side anyhow. So let's look at the way it's going to have us wire this up. So hot end thermistor is T0. Let me see if I can't make this bigger. There we go. So hot end thermistor T0. So that's going to be the 2-pin on the left down at the bottom. Right here. Then the hot end fan is the middle of these lower three 2-pin connectors. And then hot end 0. Okay, the hot end goes into hot end 0, which is the 2 screw downs. Part cooling fans will go into fan 2, and there is a note. So if you're using a PT1000, you will need to set the jumper next to the port. If you're using PT100, you'll need a PT100 port instead on the right side of the board. This is a standard NTC 104 NT4. So we'll be good with the thermistor. You'll have to either use a Y connector or solder the part cooling fans together to do this. So we will be doing that. We will be soldering the part cooling fans together in order to get them properly connected for their fan slot. RGB, that would be the 3-wire pin right next to the center chip. X end stop, they say to put into PB8, which is the bottom left probe pin. So PB8 and ground. The upper sensor, which is the upper sensor for the extruder, would be ground and PB6, which is in the middle 5-pin JST connector. And then the lower center would be PB5. So we're not using the lower one. It's just there as a physical placeholder for the filament, to keep the filament path constrained. If you're using tap or boop, you would use the ground, 5-volt, and PB9, which is the other 3 parts of the probe. That is where we will be installing the 3-wire connector to the piezo board. Okay. The E-motor is, of course, up at the top left and the little ear up there. And the big thing here is just understanding the big thing here is understanding that because of the way the screw terminals go for the hot end, you have to come in at the bottom. I'm going to get those screwed in first. So I'll try and figure out, okay, we're mounted here, like so. So our 2 hot end wires, like I said, I knew I was going to need to trim these a little bit shorter, will come in right there and need to be on a ferrule, or we're going to 10 and heat shrink and go straight into the hot end. So I'm going to want to wire these up first before I get this mounted, because it probably reduces the amount of frustration that I have with big meat mitts, right? So this is why I kind of lay this out, look at it, and I care more about getting this wire in first than anything else. Now, the other thing that you might want to do that'll make life easier is power up your board, connect this off of being attached anywhere, and get this flashed with the CAN bus stuff. So before we do anything, I know I need to run because Evil Diesel's coming over to help. On the next stream, which may be later this weekend or maybe Tuesday, what we're going to do is lay this young lady on her side, get her wires, we'll lay the young lady on her side, and we're going to work on some flashing. So we will power up our board and flash our Raspberry Pi, get an image flash to the Raspberry Pi, flash the firmware to our board because we need to make sure that it's got the CAN bus going. Then we'll go from the board to the GBB15 and then from the GBB15 up to here to make sure that everything is flashed and talking before we physically mount it. Just because looking at the boards, and I pulled the GBB15 out here, our GBB15, are you open? Come on, now you've been open. Oh wait, that's my Explorer. That's not the GBB15. I was pretty sure I pulled that out. Give me 1 second. Did pull it out. Where'd I put it? Ah, here we go. Our GBB15 board, number one, it has some heat pad. This must go between the bottom of the board and our 1515 extrusion. So we'll get the heat pad there. We'll need to poke out the 2 holes in the heat pad, and we will mount this with M3x8 screws, and it's going to get mounted directly to the underside rear gantry piece. Now, USB is right here. This is motor A. This is motor B. We just need to know the layout. So motor A is over here, motor B. We have thermistors, and then the top are the 2 end stops. So this will be B. We'll bring our end stop in right there. And we're going to need to have our USB and deal with these 2 small these 2 small buttons to flash the board. Now, on this board, because of the chip they're using, it's a GB0 chip, you get 1 attempt to flash it. You flash it, and if you need to reflash it to change your CAN bus speed or anything, you're getting out a secondary tool, a STEM32 programmer, which I have one of those over here to reset the boot select pin, because by default the boot select pin gets used as one of the pins in the pinout. So you get 1 chance to do this, and we're going to set it right. Now this, right next to our USB connector, is the CAN bus in. So this will be our 4-wire CAN bus in. This is our 4-wire CAN bus out. So we're going to come in from the Leviathan board. We'll come in here, and then we'll come out to go up to the tool head. So we're going to do a daisy chain, and this will be the board in the middle. So what we want to do is scope all that out right here on the bench and make sure that everything is flashed USB wise, and then flashed with clipper, and that we're talking to everything along the way. Sound good? And we'll work on that on the next stream. Like I said, that may be a stream that we just do here on the bench over the weekend. We'll see how the weekend goes. This is the Micron Plus, which could be either a 160 or 180. I believe this is the 180. Let me double check the heated bed real fast. So this is the heated bed for it. It's got all the nice wiring. This is the M180. So this is the Honey Badger heat pad. This is for the M180. So this is the 180 version, size version. It's got the thermistor already plumbed on it. We'll need to add a ground lug. And then we're going to peel back this cable sleeving so that we can cut the wires short to do the other mounting points for it. Or not mounting points, so we'll be able to run into the Wago. So the load will come from the Wago into one leg and then out of the other leg into the load that's coming into the heater. And then the other one's going to come directly out into the neutral. We'll add the ground. So that's how that'll go in there. We'll mount this. We'll be mounting this soonish. I normally try and wait till the very end to mount the bed just because it adds additional weight that doesn't need to be there. But yeah, we're making good progress. We're about to the point where, yeah, we're down to wiring and then making things pretty. So, but once again, this is critical for one, heat dissipation, because we're basically going to use the 1515 center rail on the rear gantry as the additional heat sinks for the stepper drivers and the main GB chip. So this is your, this chip and this chip over here are your Trinamic 2209s, and then this is your main chip. So there'll be that padding here, and it's also going to prevent any of the little legs from making direct contact and shorting out the board. So yeah, so we'll do some bench work on getting our CAN bus set up on our next stream, because I want to do that before I start doing all the wiring, because it's just easier with, once again, fat fingers and small buttons that you have to get into around other components. So it's easier to do that on the bench. So with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and figure out who we can raid into. I kind of wish that we had the ability to raid over to YouTube, because there's several people over on YouTube that I would love to raid into. But we don't, and they're not dual streaming. So let's see who we got up and running. Shenanigans is doing some in real life on the road. I'm not sure what Buana's working on. Way Cool Wood is up, and that's about it. So not too many people that I normally or that I follow that are online just yet. I am also ending a little bit early, but that's once again because I've got Evil Diesel coming over. So let me go ahead and get a raid started over to Way Cool Wood. He's another maker and crafter that does things with his hands. He's a woodworker, and he's doing a little whittling project right now. So, hey Liz. Yep. I hope everyone has a great weekend and a great Saturday. Once again, I may see you guys again this weekend, just sitting down and working on our sitting down and working on the flashing and firmware and stuff like that. You might start streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. I need to start doing that. I know you've asked me to stream on YouTube. I just need to figure the setup out, and I know some people that are doing it, like Feder, which is 3D Print SOS, and I need to pick his brain. Partly because I know the Twitch side, I don't know the YouTube side, and I need to figure that part out. But thanks everybody for being here. I will see you guys soon enough. Be on the lookout for a pop-up stream. But once again, thanks for being here. Let's go over and show some love for Way Cool Wood. Everybody have a great day. Bye now. And for those of you that are sticking around and watching this over on YouTube, thank you for being here. If you like the video today, please hit the smash button or hit the like button down there. And if you like the content and want to see more, please hit the subscribe. And when you do that, click on the bell to make sure you get notified of future videos. Speaking of future videos, YouTube's going to be suggesting a new one right here. Thank you and have a